Greetings, brothers and sisters. I'm Professor Spira, and today we will be finishing up discussing Lesson 16 in the Professor Arnold Ehret's Mucusless Diet Healing System, annotated, revised, and edited by Professor Spira. We are on the section called Mucus-lean recipes. If a little starchy food is eaten after a meal, it can be called a mucus-lean diet. But these starchy foods can be made less harmful by destroying or neutralizing more or less the sticky properties of the pasty starch. The more the potato is baked, the better. Toast well done is best. Raw cereals should be roasted first, whenever desired, and will be found to work as a good intestinal broom, although they contain stimulants. Rice is a great mucus former because it makes the best paste, but it can be improved by soaking overnight in water. You will notice that the water becomes very sticky and slimy and of an awful odor. Pour off the water from the rice and either fry or bake it a little. So essentially, this is the principle of cooking, baking, however you cook it, but preparing something so that the gluey property of it is in some way diminished. Sometimes it's almost taken out of there completely. Other times you just diminish it. So if you are into the toast suggestion, and you have your vegetable meal, your big salad, or you cook vegetables, and then you are still a little hungry, so you make some really well cooked 100% wheat or sprouted grain or whatever toast. That cooking process destroys or diminishes the stickiest of the properties. So if you think about if you take some white bread and put it, let it sit in water for an hour, and look at how soggy and pasty and sticky and gooey that gets. Now, if you take really firm toast and you do the same, you put it in water, you'll see, it's mucus forming. It's going to get a little bit slimy, but it's not going to be as slimy and as pasty and as hard to eliminate as the uncooked white bread. So it's not perfect, but we're transitioning. This is about the transition diet, and I know that the current thing that's the rumblings is out there is where people say, well, our concept of the transition is wrong because we emphasize a sort of a long-term concept of the transition, and that it should just be 2 or 3 years. And so if you can transition to a totally mucus-free diet where there's no mucus in your diet so I mean no avocados, no no wheat products, no nothing. I mean, if you can get to that where you're just eating a mono fruit meal in the afternoon and a couple stalks of celery and a few leaves or something in the evening, then you're my hero. If you can do that in 2 to 3 years, I want to give you a hug. I've never seen it. I've never seen it. I've never heard of it. I don't know, anybody that's really been able to do that. And so I'm looking for physiological geniuses. I want to see it too, and Brother Ehret wants to see it. We would like to see it. Now this is not an invitation for you to try and push yourself and to prove something, because that's not part of the Mucusless Diet whole just realm of value system. I'm not trying to prove nothing to nobody. That's why it's like, look, if this information is helpful for you or inspiring or anything, that makes me happy and I'm glad. If it's not, then there's nothing to be mad about. Just redirect your attention to whatever it is that does inspire you and makes you happy, makes you want to do whatever it is that you want to do and accomplish in your life. And so that is, that is that. But I do adhere to a definition of mucus-free that Ehret puts forth in here. And so when you're talking about the fats and the fatty fruits and all that kind of stuff, I mean, not only according to Ehret is it mucus-forming, but it is from my own experience, because I've eaten all these different things, and I know what they do, and I know the kind of slime that they created in my, and maybe that's just me, maybe that was just my body. So I grant you that my body just did exactly what Ehret said in terms of putting fats in it, and then and it's not that it hurt. I never had any pain in terms of like, oh man, I can't, so it wasn't that kind of thing. It's slimy, and it's might be a little uncomfortable, because when anytime I eat mucus, it's not the greatest feeling in the world. Is a big difference when I have a meal of, if I eat a cucumber and that's my meal, versus if I have a salad and put some avocado in there. I can feel the difference, believe me. So if you want to check it out, you check it out, and you can feel the difference too. I'm not telling anybody not to eat that. Just don't confuse it with being mucus-free. That's all I'm saying. Just don't. That's not something when you're talking about transition. Says, okay, well, I would want to be off of avocados within 2 to 3 years. If you want to do that transition, like, well, that hardcore kind of 2 to 3 years, be off of all mucus-forming foods, cool, But like I said, I find that an understanding a transition as a lifetime, because there's always higher levels that I've seen, because I don't know anybody that is the at the pinnacle that's just like, I've been totally mucus-free for 20 years and that kind of thing. That's I just don't see that. I don't see that out there. So anyway, I'm just an advocate for just get into the transition, and you will to me, that's an unrealistic expectation to say, well, you gotta to put any kind of time limit on things, just because each person is gonna be so different. But that's what makes this such a tough, and why I call this an art form, because you have to, there's certain things that you got to figure out for yourself that nobody can tell you. This challenges you on all levels. It's not just about, oh, well, I'm going to eat this, or I'm trying to eat that, or this is going to challenge you, emotionally, and physically, mentally, spiritually. I mean, it's the whole thing when you really dig deep, and at sooner or later, the Mucusless diet demands that you dig deep. At least that's been my experience. So it's important to be, I've been working a lot lately with folks with the emotional side, and for me, my main recommendation is to study the Sedona method, because that's just, Sedona method for me, it's up there with the Mucusless diet in terms of how transformative it's been on my life. And in fact, Sedona method helped me have some of the little bit of success that I've had practicing the Mucusless diet. Because without the Sedona method, it'd have been a lot harder for me to get off of meat and dairy, and just a lot of the things that I struggled with at the beginning of my transition would have been a lot harder without something like Sedona method, which is a releasing technique, if those of you might not have heard of that. So if you're interested in more of that, I made a video about that on the channel, so you can check that out. So finally, the last part of lesson 16, a mucus-lean bread recipe. Mix a rough bran flour or whole wheat flour with raw grated carrots, half and half. Add only as much white flour as necessary to keep the dough. Add somewhat grated apples and a handful of grated nuts. Also, if desired, some raisins. Bake very slowly and well. This is best eaten when 2 or 3 days old or well toasted. So again, why you want to eat something 2 or 3 days old? Because it starts to get a little bit harder, which is going to allow it to go, the gluey properties kind of crisp up a little bit, and it's going to move through the system a little better. So when I talk about principles all the time. That's a principle that you could be able to articulate. Well, what's one principle of the Mucusless diet? That certain foods are improved through cooking. And again, this kind of talk angers the hardcore raw foodist, and I apologize. No, I don't, because this is what Ehret had to say, and this is Mucusless Diet Healing System. But if you're open to that, that's part of a principle that he nails in this book over and over again. It's not that cooking is inherently evil. It's that some cooking can improve foods that would otherwise be inedible or otherwise not be useful for any type of transition diet. And then, but if you overcook something, that's not good. If you undercook certain things, that's not good. So that's something that you have to get into. And raw food is another tool. It's another tool along the way, and for a lot of people, it's an ultimate goal to be totally mucus free and totally raw, and that's great. And there's a lot to be taken from the current raw food movements out there in terms of ideas that you can get for different things, but you also want to be careful of a lot of mixtures. That's one thing I notice sometimes in the raw food world. There's a lot of mixtures, and like I said, my definition is just so different in terms of just raw food. I mean, to me, when you start blending things and putting them through dehydrators and all this kind of stuff, you've prepared it. It's not raw anymore. To me, a raw food is an apple. That's not even cut, just an apple. you eat the apple, or you have a melon, or something that's not processed in any way. Just my own personal definition. That's raw food. Is totally untouched foods that you eat without any kind of preparation. Because but in saying that, please understand that I'm not saying to not dehydrate. I'm not saying to not use a blender or to not have processed food from time to time. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that that if you really want to deal with raw food, that's just the question of why is it so important to hang on to that identity? It's like people are like, this is my identity. I can't. It's like, and then they feel that, and all it does is it makes them feel guilty when they need to take a step back and have some cooked vegetables, like they are defeated, or they feel guilty, and that's what frustrates me, because you should never feel guilty for, I'm losing ways to even explain this, because you shouldn't ever feel like that. You should never feel guilty or feel down on yourself or feel like you not good enough or this kind of thing, and be defeated. And I wish I could donate that to you somehow. Just put your hand on. I'm so sorry. But it's just that. Man, that I just see that. I see people that just get like that, and to me that's why I'm so passionate about that. If I want you to be as raw as you want to be and as mucus as you want to be, I'm your advocate and supporter. The problem I have is that it's too rigid, and when you get to a point where you need to take a step back, first you got to understand that there's nothing wrong with taking a step back. Taking a step back is not negative. It's not a problem. Mucus-lean is not bad in a sense of there is really no good and bad. There just is going in the direction you want to go. If you want to go in the direction of cleanliness, then that's the direction you go in. But this thing of being so wrapped up in these identities of these words and I'm this and that. That's why I say, just my personal thing is I practice the Mucusless Diet Healing System. Practice implies I'm not 100% mucusless all the time yet, but I am for a huge percentage of my day. I'm 100% mucus free, which translates into a large percentage of the year. If I'm mucus free 16 hours a day for an entire month, and I do that for month after month after month, I've been mucus free 60, 70% of the entire year, being totally mucus free. If you even want to think about it like that. I actually don't, but I know there's a lot of people that like that quantify, to quantify things. You gotta, add up the stuff. To me, it's just, just really work toward dealing with the basics, always coming back to the basics. And through the basics, you can get as advanced as you want to get, and take things as far as you are able to. But so that's my message for that is, please don't feel guilty, don't feel defeated, don't feel like you can't do it, or there's always another avenue. There's always another, let me switch it up. Be empowered to try something a little different, try something a little new. Nothing wrong with that. The little bit of innovation that has had, and again, another sort of controversial thing, adding lemon juice to the enema. I mean, that was, and then doing that consistently. I mean, that was an innovation. And the thing is I'm very clear. At least I try to be very transparent and clear about when I talk about something that is directly from the book, directly from Ehret's word. If it's something from my experience, or if it's something that other people that identify as Mucusless Diet Healing System practitioners do. And with the lemon juice enemas, I've never told anybody on these videos that you have to do lemon juice enemas or you're not a part of the team, or that. All I've ever said was, here's case study, here's someone that's done lemon juice enemas every day for an extended period of time. I've experienced it as well. I've also presented people that have had wonderful transformations and they didn't do enemas at all. Mr. Dad Hall. So I try to be open about that. There's no one size fits all enema recommendation. And the only thing that you've ever heard me say in terms of on here that I recommend is for, and I don't recommend it for everybody, but in general, if I was going to make a enema policy of recommendation, I would say do lemon juice enemas every day for 2 weeks, and that will give you what you need to know about them. But like Brother Ehret was saying yesterday, as we was talking about this, if you don't want to do enemas, don't do enemas. I mean, these are just suggestions. Ehret's talking about suggestions, and he does say to do enemas. He does, and I'm gonna do another video which we're just gonna talk about enemas. That's on my list. So be on the lookout for that one. We're gonna get into that, but I just wanted to make that point of, if there has been some innovation, that's been one of them. Lemon juice enemas. If that does not vibe with you, or you want, again, just don't, I'm saying go back to the 1924 book, because there's a lot of things that have been changed, more things than you would think in this 1994 book. Some of those things I mentioned in the annotated version. I based the annotated original text version on the 1924 edition. But at the end of the day, take what you, as Brother Ehret said to me, take what you need and leave the rest alone. And so I just want you to really just be the best that you can be, and be happy. Get out there, and the diet should not consume your life and everything that you it shouldn't be. You're thinking about it all day. I'm real into the diet. I'm not thinking about that kind of stuff. If anything, I'm thinking about music a lot of my day. I'm a musician, and that's my passion. I'm always trying to plug into my passion, and that's what I encourage you to do. Find your passion, and when you find your passion and you are doing something that you are passionate about every day, it makes the diet so much easier. It makes life so much easier. When you have to do something that is against your fiber of your being, it's hard, and that makes you want to eat some nasty stuff. But when you can go after your passion and really live that, times might be hard. Believe me, I see, Brother Ehret and myself and other people I know, there's been times when times are hard, but I'd rather have some hard times and be happy and following my passion than to have just this great safety net of security, and but I'm not happy, as I'm not passionate about what I'm doing. And so, but again, that's just me. I'm not saying don't do whatever, I'm not saying don't do your jobs or whatever. I'm just saying think about what I'm saying, and in fact, what I want you to do is below in this video, I would like to hear what your passions are. Tell me what you're passionate about. What is it that when you wake up, you think about it, the first thing you think about, that's just, man, I can't wait until I can go do this. For me, it's music. I can't wait to go study some more music, or that kind of thing. Somebody else, it might be painting. Somebody else, it might be waking up and giving their child a kiss good morning, or somebody, but whatever it is, I want to hear about it. I want to hear, what is your passion? Let's make a big list of all of our passions. And so I appreciate if you participate, do that below. And I thank you. I thank you for tuning in as always, and hit the like button if you would, and subscribe button, and tell a friend to tell a friend that mucus-free is the way to be. And so again, I thank you, and I'll talk to you real soon. Peace, love, and breath.